Welcome to a special podcast series, Breaking the Silence, Canada's Classrooms of Injustice, a series that delves into the stories about the federal day school system, produced by the Legacy of Hope Foundation with the generous support of the Indigenous Screen Office. Over the course of 8 episodes, we'll hear powerful stories and reflections that shed light on the often overlooked impacts of the federal day school system on Indigenous peoples, families, and communities. Join us as we listen, learn, and honor the stories that must be heard and must never be forgotten.
Today, our host Gordon speaks with day school survivor Susan Flett. Susan is from Split Lake, also known as Tataskweyak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. She grew up with her parents and siblings on the trapline and in CN housing where her dad worked for CN Rail. When Susan was around 6 years old, her family moved into the community of Split Lake for the children to attend the Split Lake Day School. Susan shares with Gordon her experience at day school and the difficulties faced while learning the English language and facing the colonial education system. This episode deals with difficult subject matter. The Hope for Wellness helpline is available 24/7 to Indigenous peoples across Canada and can be reached at 1-855-242-3310 or available through chat at hopeforwellness.ca. Counseling is available in English and French and in Cree, Ojibwe, and Inuktitut on request. Thank you for tuning in to this important and impactful conversation for the Roots and Hoots podcast Day School Series project.
Talking to Susan Flett from Split Lake, Manitoba. She was a day school survivor. She's a day school survivor from, maybe you can tell us, Susan, a bit about yourself, your community background, and where you're from, your family background, I should say.
Okay, well, Dancy, thank you for having me. My name is Susan Flett, and I was born in the Paw, Manitoba in 1965. And I grew up in a trapline with my parents, William and Betsy Flett, along with my other siblings that were home at that time, and the other 2 older brothers were in residential school. And later, when I was 5, my father got a job with a CN Rail, and we moved to CN housing by there was only 3-4 houses along the CN Rail at pit siding mile 256, and there was like I said, there was only 3 families. I really never got to know them, but one was a family, my Uncle Joe and his family. So shortly, we were told that we had to go to school. And that's when we moved to Split Lake, and that's where I started remembering, like, living in Split Lake. And that was probably around 1971 to attend day school. I didn't know English because both of my parents didn't speak English. We were very fluent in Cree. That was my first language, is Cree. My grade 1 teacher I remember her name was Mrs. Novak. So attending school was pretty hard because I didn't understand English and I didn't speak English. So that's when I started to learn a little bit about and start speaking English, I guess. Yeah.
Did other members of your family attend the same school?
Yes. I had my sister, Mary Jane, Dinah, Bella, Doreen. So there was 5 of us that attended school. And I remember going to school when it was a white and red school by the nursing station and very close to the Anglican church. And my classroom was in the basement. So there was no in and out. There was just one stairs to going in into the building. We didn't have any windows around our the basement.
What's the name of your community?
I'm from Split Lake, also known in Cree, Tataskweyak. Um, yeah, on Highway 280 to about between Thompson and Gillum.
It's a reserve, right?
The reserve, yes,
What's the
Treaty 5.
population of the reserve?
I would say maybe a little over 3,000.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the school that you attended. I was a federal day school, and going back and thinking about you sitting in the classroom and how was it? How what was your day like there? Like, was it more than one grade in the classroom, or was it just one grade? Uh,
Yeah, it
and
was one
also,
grade.
hey, was there more
Go
than one
ahead.
grade in the class?
One.
Just one, okay. And also, did they provide you any food or anything to drink and stuff like that? Did they give you any food?
We had like I said, we our classroom was in a basement and our that was our daily. We had recess time. We didn't have they provided it wasn't daily. Here and now and then they would give us powdered milk. I remember them giving us powdered milk. We would line up to have a powdered milk. There was no other extra activities or anything like that. It was just classroom setting. Um, but here and now and then they would give us what do you call that? Like X-ray. I guess looking for any TP or you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we had immunizations. We would line up. The nurses would come to the nursing station. Then we would be lining up to have immunization. Um, that's pretty much just reading. That's when we started to know, have friends, I guess. There's a lot of people were just coming in into moving into Split Lake.
Um, were you allowed to speak Cree while you were in day school?
Yeah, we did. We did because majority of us in the school did not speak English. Um, so we spoke our language in the classroom. And that's when we had an English teacher. Um, they had two people come in um, to translate some of the things that we were saying. And this day school was the first building. There was a building that was by the nursing station, and while they were building the other one towards the central part of the town, and that's when we moved to there was more resources and more teachers coming in.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what was the building like? I know at the time there was a lot of these buildings didn't have like indoor plumbing and running water, toilets. What did you have to? Did you have any of that, or did you have to go outside?
We had to go outside. The very first school we had to go outside. We didn't have running water. Um, there was some outhouses on the west side of the building. That's where we went to, do
Hmm.
our business.
Now, did they? This is kind of an off question, but kind of think about the health of kids going to school in that kind of environment. And like, I attended the same school, and I don't ever recall them making us wash our hands or giving us toilet paper or anything like that when we had to use a bathroom. I would think probably the same thing in your case.
Yes, yeah. Um, and the funny part is that some of us just never came back. Like we once we went home. Some of us we didn't come back into the building.
Why was that?
We just didn't want to be in the school. It was there was a lot of there was a lot of anxiety. I know especially when for example Christmas. Um, I think that's the very first time I seen a Christmas tree. I didn't know nothing about Christmas tree or decorating, and then we had to make chains with paper and trying to decorate our classroom. Like that was um new to me. And
Yeah.
I had another colleague. I remember Joseph. They call him Gospel Joe. I don't know if you know him, but he literally jumped on a tree because it was just new to us to decorate a tree. And it was this the teacher that introduced us um, the Christmas side. Me growing up along with my parents, I just never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have to say that, like, I understand exactly, what you're saying about that. And I'm from your same reserve you're from, and I know the school that you attended, and I was in the same building, like probably the bigger building.
Yeah,
Uh, but we never had until probably until the late '60s, early '70s, we started having Christmas decorations, right?
yeah,
And we never had presents, right? We never had. I think the first time we had presents were at the community hall, right? So where
yeah,
everybody got
yeah,
one present, and that was the only presents we have, and that's when it all started pretty much for us, and the whole Christmas thing. The other thing I wanted to ask you was about the day school, about the teachers. Often they would only stay for a year, but there were a few that stayed longer. Did you experience any kind of abuse from any of the teachers that were your teachers or teachers that were there?
my the very first on my grade one, yes, I did. I actually because there was a stairs coming down from the main entrance to our basement, and I took long coming in because I don't know. I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I just took long coming in, and nobody took me to the bathroom when I said I wanted to go to the bathroom. And I remember going out and doing my business, coming in. I took longer than I should have, and my teacher um, was upset and asking me why I took long. And that kind of confrontation for me was kind of different. Again, I didn't know how to respond. Like everything was just new to me. And and it's just the way she put her hand on my shoulder and leading me towards the basement, going back into the basement. And I slipped but then it's just the way she nudged me that made me lose my balance. Literally, I had a broken arm from from her shoving me, and
Well,
that's the way she was because she was mad at me. I took long coming into the classroom,
yeah.
and I ended up being medevaced to Thompson, and I was, I was flown out. Then it was winter time as well. That was winter time.
Yeah, and at the time, in those days, I mean, I don't think there was any, probably no repercussions, to the teacher that did this to you.
None, none
Uh,
at all. And I think the big part that really stood out for me with having a teacher. And then when we moved to in grade two, I was in grade two, and when a teacher was upset at one student, we would all be punished for it. We would like I remember Dennis, my one of my colleagues, swore in Cree in our classroom, and because I was sitting beside him, there was tables, and she pulled the muscle underneath our tongue. Me and Dennis had to leave the class. I didn't say anything, but then I was punished for that. And she pulled that muscle that's underneath the tongue, and she put a soap. Me and Dennis had to go back to the classroom and having a soap, sticking out of our mouth.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
really humiliating. I was hurt, and kids laughed at us. And but I remember her name was Mrs. Radcliffe. I don't know if you remember her.
Okay. I think yeah, and I think I know who you mean, but they were already gone when I got to Split Lake. But I'd heard about
Yeah,
that
her husband
family.
was a teacher to
Yeah,
Mr.
I,
and Mrs. Radcliffe.
yeah, I heard about that family. Here's an unrelated little tidbit about. They had a son, right? And they were from India.
Yeah,
They had a son. I forget his name, and he there was a job notice that came up at the band office, and the boy, that young Radcliffe boy, went and applied for the job, and the administrator told him, "You're not eligible to for this job," and he says, "Why?" And the administrator says, "Well, you have to be Indian first of all." And the guy says, "Well, what kind of Indian? I am an Indian." Mr. Radcliffe, that young guy, I forget his name, but I wasn't there at the time. I came from I was coming from residential school, and I was actually going to school in a provincial school in Gillum, and I moved to my grandparents moved to Split Lake in the middle of the year, so that I came in. The Radcliffe family had left already, and my teacher's name was Mrs. Lee. I don't know if you remember Mrs. Lee, but she was a nice lady. She's a good teacher, not abusive at all. Would you say that your experience? It sounds like you had some bad experiences there, but overall, would you say that your experience at the day school in Split Lake was positive for you, or was it negative?
um, I guess the good part was that it um, it's just that it was just a shock. I wasn't prepared. Nobody prepared me. I knew they said, yeah, kate school yek po managit. Gusto na ba machi school yek managit ni mama ni Tom spilling spitya. But I didn't know it was really I know a terrifying experience sitting in a big classroom with 20 kids, and now okay, I grew up with these 20 kids. Now I've
Mm-hmm.
but then some of the things that I didn't really learn about um what they were teaching us, I guess, because I was starting to they didn't consider my language first because I was um Mazagite and English because there was a lot of things in Cree that didn't relate to English,
Right.
especially and even with English, I couldn't relate to some of the things that they were trying to teach us. And so my self-esteem was sometime when I was growing up into later years, even in university, because of my because of my language. I'm fluent. And math, we didn't have math growing up. Maybe in some way that there a different way we measured things, but using math in class to put that in our life, it was into school. Um, it was different. It was um, it was hard, and yeah, I think the negative part to it was being uh, just being treated the way we were treated. And then one of the things I forgot to share was that there was times our teacher didn't let us to go to the bathroom. So we wet ourselves in a sitting in a classroom. And then again we will be humiliated. We will be laughed at. Sige tisoya, like my other friend too. And we were trying to help each other out by hiding our pants. But and
Yeah.
the outhouse was outside. Things like that. It really took a toll out of our confidence.
Yeah.
And papigo ya, matchenemiso ya.
Did you tell your parents?
Yeah, we did. And then it was like you have to listen. That's where, that's why we were told. Kandustaman po.
Yeah. I think
So
the
it was as if they were afraid to say something too.
right.
They were afraid to go talk to the teacher what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. We've heard
But
that
later
before.
on, when we moved to the second school, that's when it changed a little bit. The elders got involved, more so.
Yeah.
But did not really. But yeah, they taught us to listen. But at the same time, they were part of residential school too. That um, gave us straps the way they were strapped in residential school. They must have got that through residential school when they went. And then we were treated like that, the way they were treated.
Yeah.
So they brought that back to us when we were smaller, the younger ones.
It was always like acceptable type of discipline. It was almost like the parents were not really, not really um, allowed to say anything. Did you get that
Yeah,
feeling? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right away.
Yeah. Is that like I know that the building is gone? Did where the schools were? I think there were like one, two, three schools, three schoolhouses at the time.
Yeah,
They're all gone now, right?
they're all gone. They were pipigo pichigatewa. They were torn down.
Yeah, yeah. What has life been like now for you? Like after day school you left, and what has life been like? Has day school helped you in any way to move on with your life? Like, where did you
It
go
has.
after? Where did you go after?
Well, right after well, the very first school that went, I think that went up to grade 6. Then we moved to the brand new school, and it was still Spit Lake School. And then that went up to grade 9. And then after that, when I finished grade 9, we went to Dauphin Residential School,
Okay.
Mackay School.
Yeah.
That's where I went and
Yeah.
graduated there.
Good. You finished grade 12 there?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you go to university?
Not right away. I went home 2 years. Then I went to Brandon University. Again, I didn't complete my university. I wanted to go into teaching,
Yeah.
so I didn't finish that. Um, Shortly after, I went to Assiniboine Community College in Brandon. So I graduated there as a community um, I forget diploma program.
Mm-hmm.
Then I still wanted to be a teacher, so I took a course in Thompson to be a teacher assistant. It was a pilot project. It was an 11-month pilot project that I graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
Then I worked and chief Sam Cook after that as a teacher assistant.
Yeah.
Um, and I felt I wanted more to be a helper in a mental health field. I moved to Winnipeg here and graduated with a degree in social work. So I've graduated at University of Manitoba with a degree.
Oh, that's good. Congratulations. One of the things that I wanted to that I experienced, and you probably did too, and like probably most students that went to federal day school. Um, so going from federal day school, like grade six or whatever, or grade nine in your case, and then going to DOF and going to a provincial school. Did you struggle? Did you find it difficult adapting from changing from there to Dauphin? Like I find it really hard. It was like I was like a top student in day school, and then when I went to Dauphin, the provincial school, everything was so hard for me. How was it for you? Did you feel this? Did you have the same experience?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I struggled.
Yeah.
Um, I had a hard time when I moved to from Dauphin, again away from the community, away from family, um, being in a living in a dorm of uh 300 girls from other communities. There was
Hmm.
Split Lake, Nelson House, Cross Lake, Wasikamac, St. Therese, and there were 6 kids from Shamaroa. So
Yeah.
I was, these all these other people that I was living with for the next 4 years, and taking a school bus to a public school. And again, they did not give us a chance of what courses we wanted to take. All our courses was pre-selected
Hmm.
when I went to um, Dauphin. And I remember in my first year, I was in a very small room, and there was probably 8 kids. And my other students from Split Lake, they were in different classroom. So I was catching on that I was put into 105. So I asked, what is 105? Why is other people taking 101s and 300s, whatever? So that's when I realized that there's different categories of how you're measured of your, I guess, your academic skills. And I was put in a 105. That was the lowest. That was the special needs.
Yeah.
And later on, the more I question, I guess the more, and the second term I was moved into
Hmm.
regular class.
So you did struggle from going from federal day school to a provincial school. You found a difference, and they're more difficult academically.
Yes, it was absolutely. And again, the school setting, the academic, the school curriculum, like it was different. The reading was different. I found it more harder. Um, they didn't prepare us with math, so with math was kind of different.
You know the we kind of went through the same system. I went to federal day school. You went to federal day school. I went to residential school. You went to residential school, and we all kind of had the same similarities. And I'm going to bet that most of us had difficulty in academics when we went to residential school. Um, and I'm pretty sure that the administrators, the people that looked after us, saw our records, our academic records. And in residential school, they never gave us any tutors. They never helped us study in evenings, even though we were struggling. It makes you wonder, and you begin to realize that their end goal was not to educate us. Their end goal was probably to do something else. I wanted to ask you also, how important is it, do you think, that Canadians should know about what we went through the federal day school system?
Well, because we have more Aboriginal people moving out, settling into community to cities, they too come in with that same struggle. And the school in the schools in the urban areas in the cities need to have those resources for these people moving out from the communities, because that education system hasn't really changed in the communities. Their curriculum is different. So our our Canadian system and our kind of our country needs to change and support our communities that reserves school systems. They need to change that curriculum. They need to support the teachers, more funding through like speech, more mental health, um, and teach our the history, and not so much and even in universities they need to have one of the all faculties a prerequisite of taking the cultural courses. Yeah, they need to change that school curriculum.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about the buzzword has been reconciliation in Canada. What is your, like, what would you say, like, what comes to mind when you hear reconciliation? People talk about it. What comes to your mind?
When I first heard about that word, just that word reconciliation, and then there was different words that when I started hearing, like genocide, assimilation. Again, those were just fancy words of like, okay, for an example, when I first heard reconciliation, I didn't know what it meant. It was just a fancy word of saying of thing we're coming together. Um the more researched about this term, the word reconciliation, I looked in a dictionary, and I even found it in a Bible. It was more it's more written in a Bible about reconciliation. Kawichoto de Kuyas, like a man and a woman. So
Yeah.
because I was really trying to understand, what does reconciliation mean to me? And the term of when I hear it in terms of the country of Aboriginal people and a white man society to come together for of what was taken from us, what was stripped from us, um, for them to for us to act and talk and behave like white people. Is that what they're trying to reconciliate with us?
Mm.
But reconciliation to me is going back to who we were, to who we are as a native person, as an Aboriginal person. That's what we have to reconcile our inner self, our inner being as inino. Kuyas katyamba. Reconcile about your voice, your language, your community.
Yeah, yeah. Well said. In closing, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this. And if you have anything else you want to add, this is the last part of the podcast. So if you missed anything, you want to say something else, feel free to do so.
No, I know I'm thankful. I'm just thankful everybody in this program is here and to bring our voices out. And when I think back of day school, I'm glad my parents were there to walk me through the journey of difficult time of learning the other world, the other side of Mistuga's way, the white
Yeah.
man's way. And then they taught me and they reminded me never to forget who I am and where I come from. So, ego siya.
Thank you. We've been talking to Susan Flett from Split Lake Cree Nation. Thank you, Susan.
Thanks for tuning into this special podcast series on the Federal Indian Day School System, produced by the Legacy of Hope Foundation and made possible by the generous support from the Indigenous Screen Office. This series deals with difficult subject matter. The Hope for Wellness helpline is available 24/7 to Indigenous peoples across Canada and can be reached at 1-855-242-3310 or available through chat at hopeforwellness.ca. Counseling is available in English, French, Cree, Ojibwe, and Inuktitut on request. For more information about the Indigenous Screen Office, visit iso-bea.ca.